Thank you, Father, Father Becker, Reverend Fathers, Vianney visitors, honored guests, and my brothers. As Father said, my name is Nathaniel Binversie, and I will be giving my priest hero talk this evening. So enter into it with me. If I become a priest, would you consider becoming a priest? This was the question posed to me by some lay guy I didn't even know for about 5 minutes. Now, how in the world is a 16-year-old high school kid supposed to answer that question? But sure enough, this funny-looking guy in his upper 20s with highlights in his hair and a soul patch under his lip asked me the same question again. If I become a priest, will you consider becoming a priest? Oh, boy. All I could do was shake my head. And so he continued. And there I stood in a small, well-furnished room that sported the perfectly balanced high school ratio of girls to guys, that being about 10-1. With no good answer for this guy who had the appearance of a former Backstreet Boy. He persisted in his single question interrogation and for a third time repeated, if I become a priest, will you consider becoming a priest? Well, at this point, I had enough. My desire to speak with this man, who perpetually missed a spot shaving each day, was exhausted. But there was no way this soul-patched character was going to become a celibate, and there was also no way I was going to back down from this challenge of a question. And so, I piped up and said, yeah, whatever you say, man. If you become a priest, I will consider becoming a priest. He reached out his hand, we shook on it, and I walked away thinking that was the end of it. Turns out I was wrong on 2 accounts. This furry-lipped dude was no random lay guy, but in fact, he was a transitional deacon. And worst off, he was just assigned to my parish. This shaking of the hand was in no way the end, but rather the unexpected beginning. But who is this challenging, persistent, dynamically present man? None other than the one and only, the priest hero himself, Soul Patch Man. It's Halloween. How could we resist? So, there are 3 characteristics I'd like to exemplify in Soul Patch Man. These 3 are his ability to challenge, his persistence in the Lord's mission, and his presence to his flock. Anyone who has ever grazed as a sheep in Soul Patch Man's flock can attest to his ability to challenge them and all of their sheepness. Soul Patch Man knows how to challenge young people for the sake of the mission and for the glory of the Lord. From my first encounter with him as a transitional deacon, through my years in high school, when he received his first assignment as associate pastor at my parish and served as my primary confessor, into my college days when he was named vocations director and kept up contact with me by making visits to the neighboring Ireland Hall upon stays here at St. John Vianney Seminary. Through today, as he continues to challenge me to surrender more to formation, enter deeper into my spiritual life, and most important of all, to get the job done. Though his challenges can be difficult to take or even to understand at times, I have always known and been able to sense his great desire for my personal good, the good of the kingdom, and his sense for each person's part in the greater mission of the church. The second aspect, persistence. To possess a challenging nature is a beautiful tool for the kingdom, but if one challenges someone just once and never follows up on that challenge, what's the weight of one's words or the powers of one's challenge? Struggles have consistently persisted and presented themselves in my attempt to fulfill the challenges set before me by Soul Patch Man. Any one of these worldly challenges should have caused me to turn back on my course or veer off the narrow road towards the wide-open path of self-indulgent comfort and self-preservation. But every time I wanted to do so, there he was, Soul Patch Man. Staying persistent, staying with the sheep of his flock. No matter where I lived or how hard it was to get in contact with me, he was always right there when I started to go astray. Whether it be a 2-hour talk that postpones a 2.5-hour movie, or a 5th reminder over the phone to do my 10 minutes of spiritual reading every day, which just happened again last week, but we won't talk about that. No matter how trivial or important these things are, you can bet if Soul Patch Man has set the challenge before you, he will be persistent in ensuring you get the job done. This attribute of presence complements the attribute of persistence in Soul Patch Man perfectly. If one did nothing but persist and hound another to get the job done all the time, one would be considered cold, causing others to shut him out or rebel against him quickly. As a priest and a spiritual father to many, it's important that one be fully present to his flock, displaying a sense of tenderness, as Pope Francis speaks about and has shown so beautifully. As our Papa, and is so fervently present to his flock. So it is Soul Patch Man who is also very present to his flock with this tenderness. His presence to the seminarians under his care has always been, quote, in accordance with the highest standards of propriety. That's Merriam-Webster's dictionary and definition of impeccable. He genuinely cares and, more importantly, has shown a tender care for each and every one of us. And that is a huge aspect and a huge attribute, and definitely huge to a young man's process of discerning one's life vocation. His presence was vital in my vocation, was vital in my transition years from high school to college. And even more fundamentally, his challenging, persistent presence was vital in my return to the Catholic faith, as he spent many late Sunday nights, school nights that is, as my mother did not appreciate, over many months, persistently drawing me back to the fullness of the truth from my prideful, ignorant 7-year hiatus in the evangelical and Pentecostal church. In closing, though Soul Patch Man challenged me, pushing me out of my complacent, self-serving world of comfort, I would not have wanted it any other way. Every struggle served as an opportunity to fall to the ground and die. Die to self, die to desires, and die to my prideful old ways. Without the challenging nature of Soul Patch Man, pushing me to respond to the call of Jesus Christ, the call to fall to the ground and die, I would still be standing stern in my old ways, living my old life, and remaining just a prideful grain of wheat blowing in the wind. Though physically growing older, I am still formatively young and have a long way to go before I know my vocation with beautiful certainty. But after knowing Soul Patch Man for the last 6 years, I have come to find certainty in one thing, that no matter where I am or where I go, I can always count on Soul Patch Man to be there too. This is my priest hero, a missionary on fire for Christ, my past associate pastor and my current vocation director, the heroically virtued Reverend Daniel Schuster. Praise be Jesus Christ.